So welcome everyone. Here we are. We've all been here. This dreaded screen. Um, this tutorial will be aimed at beginners. If you already know what all this does, this isn't for you. This is for people who've loaded up for the first time and don't really know what everything does. So to start at the beginning, if you've installed VSTs, the first thing you're going to want to do is locate all your VSTs that have been installed. So if you go to add, bring up this menu and you go to manage plugins, you untick this, and then wherever you've installed your VSTs, if you put the path in here, then you do a search. As long as you've unchecked that, it won't take ages. And then the ones that you want to use, if you click these little stars, when you go then to use a VST, which is, this is your channel rack. I'll go through all these in a minute. Anything that you've favorited will come up at the top here. So that's that. Right, first thing you want to do is change the BPM to whichever BPM is your preferred choice. This is mine. Right, this window here is your sample window. All your samples will be in here. If you can't find your samples, let's get rid of this. Grab your samples from there and drop them in here, and then all your samples will then be in here. So let's start nice and simple. Let's get a kick drum. Kick. So it's my weapon of choice. Stonebank makes some great samples, by the way. Same with Music Blocks. They're the two sample packs that I use. Right, so I did that too quick, sorry. I've dropped a sample in, and then I've used the paintbrush all the way up to the number 17. Now, notice these are shaded different, and that's done for a reason. These are done in blocks of 8 to each change, and then 16 to each major change, and then 32 for every big change. So I work in blocks of 32. I just find it easier. Right, so there's your kick drum laid out. So let's go ahead and play that and see what we've got. Way too loud. So if you double click the sample, stick it on a channel, I'll show you why in a second. First thing you want to do with everything you put in is bring the volume down to about halfway. Let's play that now. That's better. Right, now that you've assigned this to track 1, if you click on this here, you'll now see that that's running through track 1. Now keep your eye on this. If you click this, it'll tell you what it's doing. If you click this, it'll tell you what it's doing. But when you've got a load of stuff running, you can pinpoint each one and it'll show you what dB that each channel is doing. And then if you click this one, it'll show you what everything's doing at the same time. Right, so we've got a kick going on channel 1. Well, I want to just zoom in here and show you. Now, let's stop that. The kick drum should be up to here, and then this space here is for your bass line. So at the moment the kick's too long, it's going to interfere with my bass line. So the way I fix this, you can easily just chop it like that, but you end up with a click. So I'll show you. Excuse me. Now, I don't know if you can hear that click. So how I do it to make life easier for myself is I've got this assigned to channel 1. I'll put this here. What I'm clicking is where you add any VSTs you want to add effects after you put them on here. Now I'm going to use gross beat. I'm going to put a gate. So the gate is now cutting out there. Now take the attack down and then push this release until you hear that click disappear. It's gone. No more click. Now the kick's still ending where I need it to, but I've lost that click now. So I'll stop that now. Alright, so that sample's covered. Now I'm going to have a look at adding a VST. So a lot of people will tell you to start making loops and adding claps and percussion and all the rest of it. I don't do that yet because I'm not sure what my tune's doing or even what route I'm going down. So I tend to just get my kick in and then I'll come to the channel rack. So from here you click the plus sign and this brings up all your VSTs. If you haven't got Serum, then get it because you need it. It's the best thing for bass lines. So now that you've got Serum up, it's going to sound awful, but what you do is pull the volume down and get rid of it for now. You want that on channel 2, and now that's assigned to your mixer. If you right click here now, click on piano roll, it brings up just that. So let's come down the keyboard a bit. That'll do me. So right, quick pattern made. You don't have to do this, but this is something I do just to add. Is to make the bass line sound a bit more bouncy. The bounce off the kicks a bit better when there's little gaps in between, because I don't use sidechain, but that's down to preference. Right, up here, these 3 things here, if you click on this, it will bring a list of all your MIDIs up. If you click on this one, bring your samples, and this will be your automation, but we'll get to that after. So I want to draw this in. There we go. Let's see what we've got. Awful. So at the minute it's horrible. Okay. Right, so let's bring this back up. You just click on it, it opens it back up. Right, the first thing I want to do is add 2 of these, so there's 2 going, and if you've got 2 going, you want to take the phase and the random down, and then it stops any phasing issues when you've got 2 things running. So let's see what we've got. So drop it an octave. That's a bit better, but still not quite the noise I want. So now I'm going to link both of these, A and B, to the filter and give it some drive and then see what that does. It's about where I want it. Right, that's about a kick and a bass line going. Obviously you would make many layers of this. Your kick drum would then be processed afterwards as well. I'd probably put a slight bit of Bloodline on. I'll show you actually while I'm here. I might put a bit of this on. It just brings your kick alive a little bit more. So that's a kick and a bass line going. Now let's try and automate this. So if I want to bring this from open to closed, what you do is touch this. Make sure you've touched the bit you want to automate, and you go here, you browse parameters, and it will highlight. See how it's highlighted at the bottom? That's the one that I want to automate. So I right click, create automation clip. Now if you grab this and make it bigger, it makes it just better to control. And there you go. So we've covered how to add a sample, how to add a MIDI, automation. So now your mixing desk. Everything on here you want to keep as low as possible. You want this to be under 6 at all times. Even when everything you've got is running in your track, you want your master to be bouncing under 6 decibels, and it just makes it easier later when it comes to the mastering process. Each channel that you assign things to, I've assigned my kick to track 1, so just for good practice you can rename these, rename color and icon, so that can be kick. And trust me, later on when you've got maybe 15 or 16 channels, this just makes life a lot easier when you're trying to pinpoint something that's not right. But yeah, that's about everything that I'm going to cover for now. Hope you've learned something, and thanks for watching.